It started as just another quiet afternoon on a movie set. Clint Eastwood was in the middle of directing a new scene, his eyes focused, headphones resting around his neck, hands in his pockets like always. The crew respected his space. He was calm, efficient, and sharp. But then something happened that stopped everything. A young girl, no more than 12, stood at the edge of the set with a small notebook in her hand. Her clothes were simple, her shoes a little worn out, and beside her stood an old man, her grandfather. No one had invited them. They weren't part of the crew. They just stood there silently, waiting. Most people would have ignored them. Security was already moving toward them when Clint noticed the old man. He looked tired, leaning on his cane, his eyes scanning the set like he was remembering something from a long time ago. Clint raised his hand, stopping the guards. "Let them come," he said quietly. The girl hesitated at first, then slowly walked forward, clutching her notebook tightly. When she reached Clint, she looked up at him with wide, nervous eyes. "Mr. Eastwood," she said softly. "My grandpa used to work in the movies. With you. A long time ago." Clint looked at the man again, studying his face. Then his expression softened. "What's your name, sir?" he asked. The old man smiled, gently. "Arthur Green, I did set lighting, back in the late 70s, on your westerns." Clint's eyes lit up with recognition. "Arthur, I remember. You worked the rig on Pale Rider." Arthur chuckled. "That's the one. I never forgot it." There was a pause. The girl looked between them, then nervously held out her notebook. "I wrote something," she said. "A song for him. He's sick. I wanted to sing it here. Just once, so he could feel like he was part of the movies again." The set fell silent. No one moved. No one dared speak. Clint looked at the girl, then at her grandfather. Then he turned to the crew. "Everyone quiet on set," he said calmly. "Let the girl sing." The production assistant handed over the schedule, confused, but Clint didn't wait. He took a pencil and crossed out one of the shorter filler scenes. Then he looked at the director of photography and said, "We're filming something new right now. We'll call it The Light Behind the Legend." The crew looked stunned. Clint nodded at Ava and Arthur. "They're the scene." Without another word, the crew jumped into action. A chair was placed center stage. Soft lights adjusted and a single mic was set up. Ava was gently guided to the middle of the set while Arthur sat nearby, unsure if he was dreaming. Clint stood behind the camera this time, eyes focused like a craftsman preparing to carve something timeless. "Roll sound," he said. "Ava, whenever you're ready." She sang again, this time more confidently. The crew captured every second, every crack in her voice, every glance toward her grandfather. And Arthur. He sat in silence, watching her with the kind of pride that couldn't be spoken out loud. When it was done, Clint walked over, knelt beside him and said, "We'll cut this into the credits of the film. Everyone needs to see this. It's not just about the movie. It's about remembering the people who built the soul of this place." Arthur didn't respond with words. He couldn't. Tears rolled down his cheeks, his hand gripping Clint's like a man holding on to a moment he never thought he'd have again. Ava hugged her grandfather tightly, and in that small circle, an old legend, a young dreamer, and a quiet witness to history, something bigger than fame was captured on film. Not a scene, a legacy. The footage Clint captured wasn't just added quietly. It became the emotional heartbeat of the film. When the movie premiered months later, audiences sat through the ending credits and were caught off guard. Suddenly, everything faded to black, then faded back into Ava, standing alone on that quiet set, singing to her grandfather. No music, overlay, no edits, just her voice, raw and true. By the time she finished, the entire theater was silent. People wiped their eyes, some sitting back in their chairs in awe. And when Arthur's face appeared on screen, smiling with pride, it didn't feel like a bonus scene. It felt like the most important part of the entire film. The reaction was instant. Social media exploded with praise not just for the movie, but for the surprise moment no one saw coming. "I came for the film, but I stayed for the little girl and her grandpa," one viewer wrote. Another commented, "That song broke me." And Clint Eastwood giving her that space. That's what real legends do. Clint, as always, said nothing. Publicly. He didn't tweet about it. He didn't take interviews. But he did send one private message to Arthur and Ava, a handwritten letter with just 5 words. "Thank you for the light." Ava kept it taped above her bed. Arthur framed it. What Clint did that day wasn't about making a scene. It was about making something real, something that reminded everyone that behind every light, every camera, every star, there were once quiet people like Arthur. And every now and then, all it took was one voice to bring them back into the light months later. Clint invited Ava and Arthur to a private screening of the film. The room was small, just a few chairs, no press, no noise. When the credits rolled and Ava's song came on, Clint didn't watch the screen. He watched them. Arthur sat silently, tears in his eyes again, but this time they weren't from surprise, they were from peace. He had seen his name listed in the special thanks, right next to the words, "Lighting Crew, the Originals." Ava held his hand the whole time. After the film ended, Clint walked over, removed his hat, and sat beside them. "You gave something to this world," he told Arthur, "and now your granddaughter's carrying that light forward. That's the kind of story I want people to remember." Arthur smiled, his voice rough but steady. "You didn't have to do all this." Clint shrugged, that familiar calm in his voice. "No, but it was right. And right is what matters." That night, Ava's voice, once meant just for her grandfather, had reached millions. But it wasn't about the fame or the applause. It was about a moment, a memory, a legacy shared. One man who thought he was forgotten and one girl who made sure he wasn't. And a legend named Clint Eastwood, who saw it all and turned it into something eternal. Please subscribe to the channel for Clint Eastwood respect. Thanks.